undefeated three-division pound-for-pound king with 33 victories, 24 of those victories coming by way of KO. The former lightweight, former
24 world title bouts. He is undefeated in his 18-year campaign with a record of 47 wins, no losses, 26 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the pound-for-pound great and the pay-per-view king, boxing's future Hall of Famer, the sensational 11-time world champion in 5 weight divisions. Please welcome the reigning, the defending, and the undefeated WCNWA welterweight and super welterweight champion of the world, introducing Floyd Mayweather.
The entire boxing world is holding its breath because Floyd Mayweather versus Terence Crawford is the ultimate clash between a living legend and the pound-for-pound king of today. One is undefeated for over 2 decades, the master of defense and ring IQ. The other, a 3-division destroyer, hungry to take the crown. Fans are arguing, analysts are divided, and the hype is exploding everywhere. This isn't just a fight, this is a battle for boxing's throne. Welcome back to Boxing Edge, the channel where fight fans get real boxing breakdowns. Today, we reveal everything fueling the massive super fight of Mayweather versus Crawford 2025. The drama, the negotiations, the reactions, and who truly has the edge. We'll dive into speed, power, timing, defense, and legacy, and why this showdown could redefine greatness in boxing history. So before we hit the bell, drop a like, subscribe, and let's jump into this mega rivalry. Floyd Mayweather just did what nobody saw coming. The undefeated, self-proclaimed TBE, the best ever, has officially thrown down the gauntlet, calling out none other than Terence "Bud" Crawford, one of the most dominant and dangerous pound-for-pound fighters of this generation. But the big question is this a legitimate challenge or just another classic Money Mayweather business move designed to keep his name in the headlines? It all started when Mayweather and Crawford sat down for what was supposed to be a deep dive into their legacies, careers, and the future of boxing. But the conversation took a sharp turn when Floyd, never one to back down from the spotlight, turned the interview into a challenge. In typical Mayweather fashion, he reminded the world of his 50-0 record, his mastery of the sport, and his belief that no fighter, past or present, could outthink him in the ring. That's when he dropped the bombshell. "Bud, you and I can get in there and settle this once and for all." The room immediately shifted. Crawford, always calm and collected, smirked, but didn't jump at the bait. After all, his sights are set on a mega fight with Canelo Alvarez in September, arguably the biggest and most dangerous bout of his career. Still, Mayweather's challenge was impossible to ignore. With Crawford versus Canelo already set to be one of the most anticipated fights in recent history, Mayweather's sudden interest in fighting Bud raises some serious questions. Is Floyd genuinely interested in proving he still has what it takes against a prime, active world champion? Or is this simply his way of inserting himself into the conversation, ensuring that his name stays relevant in a sport that's constantly evolving beyond his era? More importantly, does this fight even make sense? Could Mayweather, who has been retired for years and spent his post-career in exhibition bouts, truly step back into the ring for a real, sanctioned fight against a monster like Crawford? Or is this yet another Money May marketing move designed to drum up speculation, boost his brand, and possibly set up yet another lucrative payday? One thing is certain, Mayweather's call-out has reignited the age-old debate. What would happen if Floyd fought a prime, elite fighter of this generation? And even more pressing, with Crawford already chasing history against Canelo, does he even care? If there's one thing Floyd Mayweather has never been shy about, it's reminding the world of his greatness. In his mind, there's no debate. He is and always will be the best ever. With an unparalleled 50-0 undefeated record, multiple world titles across 5 weight divisions, and a career built on technical mastery, defensive genius, and supreme ring IQ, Mayweather believes he has already secured his place as the ultimate benchmark in boxing history. But not everyone agrees, especially Terence "Bud" Crawford. Crawford, widely regarded as the best pound-for-pound fighter today, has carved out a legacy of his own. A 3-division world champion and the first boxer in history to become undisputed in 2 different weight classes. Crawford is as versatile as they come. He possesses a rare blend of speed, power, intelligence, and an almost supernatural ability to switch stances mid-fight, adapting seamlessly to his opponents. While he has openly expressed respect for Mayweather and acknowledged him as one of the greatest, Bud has never hesitated to state that he can beat anyone, including Floyd. This isn't just trash talk. It's a belief deeply rooted in Crawford's confidence and backed by his team. Brian "Bo-Mac" McIntyre, Crawford's longtime trainer and strategist, has doubled down on the idea that Bud's mentality, relentless aggression, and ability to break down opponents over time would give him the edge over Mayweather in a prime versus prime showdown. According to Bo-Mac, Floyd may have had one of the highest boxing IQs in history. Still, Crawford's dog mentality and ability to finish fights would wear down even the most technical defensive wizard. Mayweather, never one to let a challenge slide, made it clear that he's ready to settle the debate. His challenge was simple but direct. "Bud, you and I can get in there and settle this once and for all." The tension in the room was undeniable. Crawford, despite his usual composed demeanor, gave a knowing smile, but he didn't immediately bite. He knows that Mayweather's words, while powerful, don't always lead to action. He also knows that a fight against Floyd, while lucrative, might not do much for his legacy, especially considering that Mayweather has been retired for years and hasn't fought a legitimate, active world champion since his 2015 bout with Andre Berto. While Floyd Mayweather is busy pushing for a fight with Terence Crawford, Bud has bigger goals. Goals that could cement his place in boxing history forever. Crawford is locked in for a monumental showdown against Canelo Alvarez in September. A fight that could define his career and possibly even surpass the legacy of Mayweather himself. This is a battle between 2 undisputed champions, 2 of the most dominant fighters of their respective eras, and a fight that has been years in the making. But this isn't just another high-profile matchup. Crawford is taking an enormous risk. Unlike Mayweather, who carefully selected his opponents and never put himself in a size disadvantage, Bud is daring to be great by jumping up 2 weight classes to face Canelo, a natural 168-pounder with knockout power, elite counter-punching, and the kind of experience that comes from facing the best in multiple divisions. The sheer size difference is staggering. Crawford, who has spent the majority of his career competing between 135 and 147 pounds, will have to step up to a division where Canelo has dominated and even bullied naturally bigger fighters. It's one thing to move up in weight, but it's another to challenge a physically imposing fighter like Canelo, who has dismantled champions at super middleweight and even held his own at light heavyweight, 175 pounds. Many boxing analysts and fans have expressed serious concerns about whether Crawford can handle Canelo's raw strength, relentless body attack, and pressure over 12 rounds. Some question whether Bud's technical brilliance and adaptability will be enough to offset the natural advantages that Canelo possesses in power and durability. Others believe that Crawford's exceptional ring IQ, footwork, and defensive discipline could allow him to outbox the Mexican superstar in a way no one else has. Of course, no conversation about Canelo Alvarez is complete without Floyd Mayweather inserting himself into the equation. equation. In typical Mayweather fashion, he wasted no time downplaying Canelo's abilities, reminding the world that he had already exposed the Mexican fighter back in their 2013 showdown. He was nothing, a cakewalk, easy, Floyd boasted, dismissing Canelo's skills as overrated and suggesting that Crawford was wasting his time by chasing a fight with him. According to Floyd, the real money fight, the real challenge, shouldn't be against Canelo, but against him. Mayweather has always had a complicated relationship with Canelo's success. While he convincingly outclassed a 23-year-old Alvarez in their fight, Canelo went on to become one of the biggest superstars in boxing, winning world titles in 4 divisions and cementing his place as an all-time great. However, Mayweather has never been one to give credit easily, often diminishing Canelo's accomplishments as fighters I already beat or guys I would have made easy work of. Mayweather's attempt to downplay Canelo and shift the attention to himself raises an interesting question. Would Crawford benefit more from fighting Mayweather than facing Canelo? On paper, a fight against Floyd would generate massive pay-per-view numbers, and even in an exhibition setting, the financial reward would be astronomical. But does it actually make sense? Mayweather is 47 years old, retired, and hasn't fought an elite-level boxer in nearly a decade. On the other hand, Canelo is an active, undisputed champion at the peak of his powers. A fighter still adding to his legacy, still facing the best in the world, and still proving himself inside the ring. For Crawford, the choice is clear: legacy over money. A victory over Mayweather, even in a real fight, wouldn't carry the same weight as dethroning Canelo at super middleweight. Beating Canelo would make Bud a legend. Beating an aging, retired Mayweather would be nothing more than a business move. For Mayweather, his challenge to Crawford seems less like a legitimate call for competition and more like an attempt to hijack the narrative, ensuring his name remains synonymous with boxing's biggest fights, even when he's no longer the one fighting them. If there's one thing boxing fans know about Floyd Mayweather, it's that he never steps into the ring unless the paycheck is astronomical. With Canelo Alvarez recently inking a $150 million deal for multiple fights, you better believe Mayweather is watching closely. Canelo's massive contract proves that boxing's elites still command mind-blowing paydays. As someone who has always prided himself on being the sport's biggest financial draw, Mayweather isn't about to let anyone, not even Canelo, claim that throne. His entire brand is built on the idea that he is the highest paid athlete in boxing history. If Canelo is earning 9 figures, Floyd will demand at least double that. Mayweather's financial demands have always been historic. When he fought Manny Pacquiao in 2015, he walked away with over $300 million, shattering pay-per-view records and setting a standard that no other boxer besides himself has come close to touching. Even his 2017 fight against Conor McGregor, a crossover bout against an MMA star making his pro boxing debut, reportedly netted him around $275 million, proving that Mayweather's earning power transcends even traditional boxing matchups. Now, with Crawford's name in the conversation, the question becomes, how much would Mayweather demand to fight him? If Canelo is getting $150 million, Mayweather's mindset is simple. If Canelo is making $150 million, then I should be making at least double that. That means we're potentially looking at a $300 million plus payday, an outrageous sum for a fight that might not even generate the same level of commercial appeal as Mayweather versus Pacquiao or McGregor. While hardcore boxing fans would be intrigued by the matchup, casual audiences, the ones who drive pay-per-view numbers into the millions, might not be as invested, especially since Mayweather has been retired for nearly a decade, and Crawford, despite being a dominant force in the sport, hasn't yet become a mainstream star on the level of Canelo or Pacquiao. The biggest challenge: finding a promoter willing to put up that kind of money. Canelo's $150 million deal is backed by DAZN and PBC, two of boxing's biggest power players who see Canelo as a guaranteed pay-per-view attraction. But Floyd Mayweather is a different story. He no longer holds an official world title, doesn't have a contract with a major promotion, and at this stage, he's more focused on exhibition fights against YouTubers and retired fighters than serious competition. A sanctioned fight against Crawford would require an enormous investment, one that only makes sense if the event can break records. But with Floyd's age, 47 years old, and the sport's current landscape, would fans still be willing to pay $100 plus for a pay-per-view event featuring a retired legend against an active champion? Even if the fight did happen, the business negotiations alone could take years, just like what happened with Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Mayweather will want full control over promotions, venue, pay-per-view percentages, and opponent purses. And knowing Floyd, he'll demand to be the A-side in every single aspect of the deal. Here's the real question. Would this fight even be worth that kind of money? While Mayweather versus Crawford is a dream fight for purists, it doesn't have the same level of anticipation as Mayweather versus Pacquiao had back in 2015. That fight had over a decade of buildup, multiple failed negotiations, and a historic rivalry that made it the biggest fight of a generation. Crawford, despite his elite skills and championship pedigree, hasn't yet crossed over into mainstream superstardom in the way that Pacquiao, Canelo, or McGregor did. If the fight fails to capture the attention of casual fans, it could struggle to justify the insane payday Floyd would demand. At the end of the day, Mayweather isn't coming back for anything less than a record-breaking purse. Unless a promoter is willing to risk hundreds of millions of dollars on a fight with no guarantee of reaching historic pay-per-view numbers, it's unlikely that Mayweather versus Crawford ever becomes a reality. So, while Floyd's challenge to Crawford makes for great headlines, the actual fight, that's a whole different story. Would it even be worth it? As the boxing world buzzes with speculation, one question remains. Which fight is truly the bigger spectacle, Mayweather versus Crawford or Crawford versus Canelo? Both matchups carry massive stakes, but they appeal to different audiences and narratives. A fight between Crawford and Canelo is a battle of two active, dominant champions, one moving up in weight to chase greatness, the other defending his throne against one of the most skilled boxers of this generation. Meanwhile, Mayweather versus Crawford would be more about legacy, history, and spectacle. A generational clash between an undefeated legend and the sport's current pound-for-pound king. Let's break it down. Floyd Mayweather has been out of the real boxing scene for nearly a decade. His recent exhibitions, while lucrative, have been more about entertainment than serious competition. But whenever Floyd teases a return, the boxing world listens. A fight against Crawford would instantly become one of the most talked about events in sports, but would it surpass Crawford versus Canelo in pure excitement? For hardcore boxing fans, the answer might be no. While a fight between Mayweather and Crawford carries historic significance, it lacks the real championship stakes of a Canelo showdown. Canelo is the face of boxing today, and his fights always carry massive implications. A win over Canelo would solidify Crawford's legacy in a way that beating a 47-year-old Mayweather simply wouldn't. However, from a business perspective, Mayweather's name still holds unmatched value. His fights consistently shatter pay-per-view records, and even his exhibition against Logan Paul, where no winner was declared, generated millions in sales. The sport has changed significantly since Mayweather's prime. Today's biggest fights rely heavily on streaming services, partnerships with networks like DAZN, and pay-per-view sales. Promoters might hesitate to risk hundreds of millions of dollars on a fight that doesn't have the championship implications of Canelo versus Crawford. Mayweather knows this, which is why he's more likely to push for an exhibition rather than a real fight. Exhibitions allow him to make enormous money without risking his undefeated record. If he can sell millions of pay-per-views without taking real damage, why would he gamble his legacy against Crawford in a real fight? This is the ultimate what-if debate in boxing. Prime Mayweather was virtually untouchable. His defense, ring IQ, and ability to control the pace of a fight made him one of the most frustrating opponents in boxing history. Even the best fighters of his era, Pacquiao, Canelo, and Cotto, could barely lay a glove on him. But Crawford is a different kind of opponent. His ability to switch stances, adapt mid-fight, and apply constant pressure is something Mayweather never truly faced in his career. If you placed prime Floyd against prime Crawford in the ring, the outcome wouldn't be so easy to predict. Would Mayweather's slick defensive style neutralize Crawford's offense, or would Crawford's relentless attack and knockout power be enough to wear Floyd down? Boxing fans will argue about this forever. But one thing is certain, we'll never get to see this fight in its prime form. So now it's your turn. Would Mayweather versus Crawford be bigger than Canelo versus Crawford? Would Floyd actually step into the ring for real, or is this just another cash grab? Who wins in a prime versus prime battle, Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford? Let's hear it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest boxing updates.